there are pockets of enclaves of Islam and Muslims, and so at some point I'll be reaching out to them Muslims in Ghana. So I thought I'd just do some more research and study. And I knew about this kind of research, but I've been genuinely shocked the last couple of days from what I've been finding out. The Muslim narrative is that Abraham went to Mecca, and there is where Abraham visited, and that was the heart of worshipping the one true God. And then the narrative is that Muhammad is returning Islam back to that true pure worship, back to Mecca, getting rid of the idols and getting back to that one pure monotheism religion. But when you start to study and research and go into history, you find some remarkable things. So, for example, we're talking like maybe 2000 BC, maybe 1500, 2000 BC, Abraham was alive. But remarkably, we don't find any evidence that he visited Mecca. We don't find any evidence because the reason being, Mecca didn't exist till 4th century AD. So you have the remarkable fact that you have historians in sort of 400 BC, 500 BC, 400, 500 years before Christ. You have Greek historians. You have various map makers who visited Arabia. You had various military campaigns after Jesus Christ in 100, 200 AD, where the Romans went into Arabia and they mapped out the place. So over like from 500 BC to like 200 AD, we have countless historians, countless geographers who were into making maps visit Arabia, and they never ever mention Mecca. And these were extensive expeditions, thorough expeditions of the country, and it's never mentioned anywhere in any of these ancient sources, not up till about the 3rd century AD, going up to the 4th century AD. So that what that means is the whole Islamic narrative that Abraham went to Mecca is just a complete and utter myth. It doesn't have any historical reference whatsoever. If the Muslims use the Bible, it's not the Bible verses are not on about Mecca as in Mecca. It's on about where Sinai is, near Sinai, Mount Sinai. It's nowhere near the Arabia that the Muslims are claiming. So there's no historical foundation for this story that Abraham went to Mecca. And then on top of that, there was another Kaaba over the other side of Arabia from Mecca, just before Mecca was founded, some like 300, 400 AD. And it was the area of the Nabateans. And even the Quraysh tribe used to go and visit this Kaaba. And they had these black stones, not only in the Nabatean one, but other places as well, other Kaabas. And these black stones were meteors, and they were part of worshipping the star god. So the whole ethos of the Islamic story, there's no historical precedent, no historical evidence to show that Abraham went to Mecca, because Mecca didn't exist till the 3rd or 4th century AD. But B, the whole ethos of Islam, where they go around the Kaaba and the Black Stone, is from paganism. There were lots of these Kaabas. There were lots of these black stones. But one of the main ones was over the other side of Arabia where the Nabateans were. Even the Quraysh would go there, and there's a verse in the Quran that talks about not going there again. It was prohibited. So you can see that Islam has come out of paganism. And also the historiography, for example, the historiography of Islam is incredibly bad, is incredibly deceitful, because Muhammad had an adopted son, and he walked into a room, and he saw his adopted son's wife underskirt, the wind blew, and he saw under, and he was attracted to her. So his adopted son went to him and said, "You can have my wife." So he divorced his wife. And then the Quran talks about, there's no such thing as an adopted son, and it's okay to marry this person's wife. So that Quranic verse was produced so that Muhammad could have his adopted son's wife. But what's interesting is there are historians in Islam that invented stories in order to give give Muhammad some credibility. So, for example, there were stories invented that there were godly men in the Old Testament, in Old Testament times, that the wind blew up their wives' skirts, and so to give them credence, give Muhammad credence, So they invented stories. Ibn Ishaq, even the Muslims say that he was notoriously dishonest. He invented genealogies, he invented stories, all to give the Quran historical credibility, Muhammad credibility. And a lot of those things that he invented, Ibn Ishaq, is still perpetuated today, even by the Muslims today. And even the Muslim scholars have said in the past that he was not reliable, but yet they still use a number of his stories that he said. So, and you can look at all the main key historians of Islam, and they are all guilty of creating and fabricating stories about Muhammad. So the whole historiography, the whole historical foundation of Islam, it rests on lies, and then his followers and theologians and scholars have built even more lies upon lies. And I can see why I can see why Mansour, Hamza, and many of these Muslim apologists attack Christianity, because if you attack, you don't have to defend. But when you look into Islam, it's easy to dismantle, it's easy to break down when you go into detail. When you start going into detail, it's incredibly easy to break down, because it's so full of falsehood, it's so full of lies, historically speaking. And then the other funny thing is, when something actually shows Muhammad to be false, a false prophet, for example, the satanic verses, actually you can find over 22 historical sources for Muhammad being deceived by the devil concerning the satanic verses, where he gives a verse worshipping these false gods. So yeah, so the foundation of Islam It's incredibly, it lacks historical foundation. Its historians are a bunch of liars. The early historians, they manufactured stories. They manufactured genealogies that were false, and the whole system in the Quran is full of historical inaccuracies. So, for example, the Hooper bird story, the Bathsheba story, it's just taken from old Jewish fables. It's nothing, doesn't have any historical ring about it at all. The Hooper bird and the ants fighting and things like that. It's incredible that as Christians we have not we should not allow Muslims to attack the Bible. We should not allow Muslims to attack the Trinity. When their own foundation is so despicable, full of lies, we should go right in there and tell them straight that your whole thing is a pack of lies. It's just a pack of lies. It's just a total pack of lies. So it's no good attacking us, saying the Trinity is this or it's not biblical, whatever. Your own foundation is a pack of lies. Islam cannot be defended. So I think that as Christian apologists, we should go on the attack, and we shouldn't allow the Muslims apologists to even critique Christianity or even start quoting Christian scripture, our scriptures, because they've not got a leg to stand on. And if you collect the data, if you collect the evidence, and just present it, it's irrefutable. No, but the thing is, John, it can be demonstrated with the Islam. Look at this, John. Good morning. Good day, John. John, look. The Muslims say, the Quran says, the Muslims say, the Hadith say that Abraham. This is one of the main foundations of Islam. They say that Abraham visited Mecca. Mecca didn't exist in the time of Abraham. It didn't exist till the 3rd or 4th century AD. So we're talking 2,400 years of data, of evidence proving that Mecca did not exist. We're talking Greek historians, we're talking all sorts of different ancient Near East historians who visited that area, and Roman historians, not historians, geographers that wrote and visited the area of Saudi Arabia and did not find Mecca. They do not mention Mecca. And it's not an argument from silence, because there was military expeditions deep into Saudi Arabia where Mecca is reportedly have been, and there's been no reference to Mecca, not since the 3rd to 4th century AD. So it's a pack of lies. It's not a case of my opinion. It's a pack of lies. So why do we allow Muslims to attack our Bible, attack our faith, and say the Trinity doesn't make sense, or and start quoting our scriptures when their faith is just built upon lie upon lie upon lie? And it's a pack of lies. So, I mean, unless you've got evidence, John, have you got evidence that Mecca existed in the time of Abraham? Have you? So there we are. So it's a big issue. That's a big issue. And then Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl, consummated it at 9. I mean, it goes on and on and on. So why have I done this video? It's just to expose the lies of Islam. Can any Muslim give us any evidence that Mecca existed before, in the time of Abraham? Anyone? Any Muslim? Put your evidence there. It shows that your faith is just based on lie upon lie upon lie. And you're not consistent in your faith, because if you look at the hadiths, right, the hadiths clearly say you shouldn't have any pictures, right? So any Muslim listening to me now, get your phone, look into your phone and press on your phone, and you're going to have pictures on your phone, aren't you? There's pictures that you're taking of your family, there's pictures that you've taken. Yet your hadith say you shouldn't have any pictures. Not just pictures of Muhammad. It doesn't say you shouldn't have any pictures of Muhammad. It says, the hadith say that you shouldn't have pictures per se. And yet most Muslims who are listening to this, if not, most Muslims, you've got mobile phones and you've got pictures on your mobile phone, and you shouldn't have them. No, John, that's a silly argument, bro. We're not wrong on the issue. Let's be specific. Don't equivocate. John, be specific. We're being specific. We're on about Abraham. Did Abraham visit Mecca? This is a fundamental foundational claim in Islam. The whole religion of Islam rests on this issue that that Abraham went to Mecca. The whole religion is founded on that story, and it's fabrication. There is no evidence for it. So it's not a case of we could be wrong, I could be wrong. It's a case of it's a slam dunk argument. There is no evidence to substantiate this story. In fact, the evidence is the other way. Tons of evidence to show that Mecca did not exist until the 3rd to 4th century AD. So it's not a case of we could both be wrong on that specific issue. Okay? So anyhow, on the issue of images, the hadith clearly state that you shouldn't have images at all. But yet, if I got the phone of Muslims right now and we looked on your phone, you've got images on your phone. So you're not even following your own religion consistently. You're not following it consistently. You've all got images on your phones, and yet the hadith say you shouldn't have images. All right? So I'm finding some interesting things out. There are also examples of Muhammad being bewitched, having been bewitched. There are hadiths that talk about him being bewitched, at least on 3 occasions, people bewitching him with witchcraft, and Aisha and others mentioned this. So I mean, this is no way to say that this is a true faith. These are hadiths that people are not looking to. They're not realizing exist about Muhammad, and they're from some of your best sources, and you don't want to listen to them. Yeah. All right, we're finished. But if any Muslim out there can enlighten us, but your faith is deceiving you, and you need to be on a strong foundation of truth, and the Bible is the truth, and the Bible has the message for salvation, that is to believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Okay? God bless you and take care. Well, there's evidence that he did exist. There's evidence that he did exist. Archaeological evidence that he existed. Okay, take care now. Yeah? Where are you going?